Awesome. Thank you. This is one of my favorite topics because I get to tell a bit of my life experiences and I get to share some of the things I've learned. It's quite personal for me because of the number of setbacks I have experienced in my career so far. And I think for me, every setback that I've gone through has helped me achieve more than what I would have achieved otherwise. And so because of this experience, I like to call myself the bounce back queen because legit, I've had so many setbacks and I bounce back every time. And I've learned a lot about myself along the way. And I wanted to share some of this with you today. And so by the end of this talk, all of you will have a toolkit to use setbacks as a springboard for success. So I'll just go through the structure. Today, I'll go through the 2 stages I've identified that we go through when we experience a setback, and then we'll get into what all of this means, how we deal with these stages, and then I'll provide a toolkit of tips to help you navigate these comfortably and confidently. Apologies, I have a terrible throat. So throughout our lives, many of us, I'm sure, have had to start over and over, and we've experienced some sort of failure or setback. And setbacks don't just happen because of, errors or failings. Sometimes we get knocked back because of a career disappointment. We're hopeful that a pay rise or promotion will happen, but it doesn't. We apply for a role we really want, but we're not selected for the interview. Or even worse, we get to the final 2 and then we don't even get the job. And so those are just a couple of examples of the situations that we go through. And when this happens, we respond by moving into fight or flight mode. But afterwards, we have the choice to feel our way through the setback, to think through the setback, or a combination of both. And so we want to overcome the battle between our thoughts and our feelings. Because when these 2 systems work together, it's called building resilience. When we speak about resilience, we're really thinking about developing mental toughness and developing the ability to experience discomfort and still feel comfortable. And so whether you have knowledge of the tech industry or have worked in tech, you'll know that a lot of the mantras and the things we talk about, like team charters, revolve around encouraging failure. When we think about agile ways of working or even high-performing teams, we encourage failure. We champion shipping in increments, and as engineering leaders, we place a lot of value on psychological safety, where we put a lot of work into creating safe environments for engineers to fail fast and to continuously improve. But do we hold ourselves to these same standards? Do we create these environments for ourselves to fail and grow? Probably not. And this is something we need to work on. We need to hold ourselves accountable so that we can continuously grow personally and professionally. This evening, we'll think about one scenario in particular to focus our minds. So we're going to go for that promotion that didn't happen. So we've just heard the news from our manager that we didn't get the promotion we were hoping for. The first stage we encounter after a career setback is something I like to call emotional carnage. So this is when the bombshell has been dropped. Our hopes and dreams have absolutely been slaughtered, and we feel like we're at war, a war that we're not prepared for. And I know this stage very well. It's when we're in the feeling zone and we're emotionally charged. Naturally, we want to put the blame somewhere. We want to point the finger at someone, and everyone else is the reason why we're in this situation. When we experience this, we're feeling strong and we want to fight back. And in the case of not getting the promotion, I'm probably ready to pack up my things. I'm going to speak to some recruiters and that's it, I'm out. But we can't do that. We can't let this phase last for too long. We can't be swept up in the storm of the emotions because we're not thinking clearly, and we're definitely not doing ourselves any favors. So here are some tips on how we should deal with this stage. My first tip is to embrace the emotional carnage. As women, we are told that we can be too emotional and emotions are bad. Regardless of your gender identity, you have permission to go through emotional carnage. The main goal is to have our thoughts and feelings balanced so that we're able to move forward. My second tip is to make sure you give yourselves time to process the feedback. It is very important that we let our minds absorb what has happened to us. For some setbacks, you'll just need more time to just breathe, to just pause and to recover. Processing information is a slow and gradual process, and it is a necessary part of our development. It helps us develop resilience, it improves our coping mechanisms, which promotes growth and maturity. My third tip is to practice self-care and self-compassion, which will help you realize where you fit in the bigger picture. So personally for me, I practice self-care by lighting some candles. I use the Headspace app for some meditation. I get my journal out. I do some coloring in sometimes. Either way, I'm sipping some Sauvignon Blanc. So that is my self-care practice. And we should always show ourselves kindness. The way that we speak to ourselves or about ourselves really matters. So practicing self-compassion will help us deal with challenging situations, and actually this will benefit us in the long term. So cheeky, more tips. Give yourself a gentle and supportive nudge and ask yourself what you need in that moment, and challenge yourself when you're overcome with negative thoughts, because we want you to take a more balanced view of yourself. So now we're going to reflect. We've turned our home upside down. We were mad. Now we're going to put it all back together. We've calmed down and we've taken some time to look after ourselves. So now it's time to get strategic. We didn't get that promotion, but now we're going to find out why. The second stage of a career setback is getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And this is probably the hardest stage, because this is where we have transitioned from feeling strong and now we're feeling vulnerable. We want to know the depth of what we can learn from the situation, and we're trying to push through. Setbacks are progress in disguise. And when I think about the most powerful things I've learned in my career so far, most of them are connected to career setbacks. So my first tip here is to remember that discomfort is temporary and it will lead to valuable outcomes. So we're going to form a strategy, and this is going to involve navigating difficult situations. And in some cases, you might end up having a difficult conversation with the very person that triggered your emotional carnage in the first place. And so my second tip to follow this is gathering some feedback. By gathering feedback, we are no longer pointing the blame outwards, but we are looking towards ourselves. We're thinking objectively, we're being vulnerable, and we're looking to strengthen our relationship with others by reaching out and asking for help. We're asking for an opportunity to grow, and we're becoming more comfortable with our discomfort. Third tip, create a support system. We need support in these difficult times. So surround yourself with people who have good vibes, hashtag good vibes only. We want people that are focused on solutions, not problems. These people can support your growth, they can build your confidence, and this is useful when it comes to tackling constructive feedback in step 2. All of the things I've mentioned will make sure that we're definitely better prepared for anything like this in the future. And we have to understand that we need both the peaks and the valleys in order to move forward. The ups remind you where you want to go, the downs push you to get there. So let's recap again. We've gone through lots of thoughts and feelings, and we've completed stage 1, emotional carnage. We've come up with a strategy, we're going to gather feedback, and we've completed stage 2, getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And now we're moving into the third and final stage, which is, of course, we got to bounce back, right? It's not enough to understand what others want or expect from us. The real bounce back comes from understanding our own strengths. There is nothing more powerful than someone who knows what they're worth. And you can do this by putting in the work to understand who you really are. So what wakes you up in the morning? What are you really good at? And what areas do you need to develop in? My first tip here is to identify your strengths and weaknesses. By identifying our strengths, we'll be able to figure out what activities or tasks we need to engage in. We'll know what to do to make us shine, whether that's utilizing these strengths in a meeting, taking on challenging tasks, or supporting and leading others. We'll understand where to focus our energy in a way that will benefit our career growth. And on the flip side, identifying our weaknesses will encourage us to try new things. It allows us to understand how we can improve them, and we can also figure out how to potentially turn them into strengths. With all this information, we can work on our personal development and focus on our specific needs, which over time will build our confidence. It also helps to develop our emotional intelligence and continuously improve our responses to career setbacks. Some ways to do this is, you can engage with coaches, you can speak to people you're closest with, and you can take online tests such as the Strengths Profile. I have personally used this, and it provided me with very useful and scarily accurate results outlining my realized and unrealized strengths, my learned behaviors, and my weaknesses. Seeing these things written down encouraged me to take action and really make the most of all the things that I had learned. My second tip is to identify your passions and your motivations. The combination of passion and energy is powerful. Think about when you're doing something you're super passionate about, you're happy, you take pride in what you do, and time flies. This is what you want people to see. You want people to see your authenticity. When you're in the right mood, you enter a state of flow and you become so focused that you become fully immersed in that task. The more passionate you are with what you do, the easier you can enter the state of flow. And the more flow you experience, the better your output. This will help you focus and will help you produce more achievements in your life. So it's definitely important to know what motivates you. It's what drives you forward with your goals. And in this case, that's what we want to do. We want to move forward through the setbacks. My third tip is to identify your values. Our values reflect what is important to us in life. They are often referred to as our personal guiding principles, aka our life goals, because they guide our behavior in different parts of our life, our home life, our work life, our social life, and so on. Our values are important because they can help us predict each other's choices, and we can also avoid misunderstandings, which can surface definitely from stage 2 when we speak to others and gather feedback. So something that I use regularly is a website called 16 Personalities, which helps you learn how your personality type influences many areas of your life and provides you with lots of resources for learning and developing yourself. Now, I'll be honest with you, there are so many questions. It wasn't easy answering these because you have to be honest with yourself and it takes a bit of time, but it did change my life. I have to think about my personality type and my values every day because I enjoy it and it's useful. I focus on how I can leverage these in all the aspects of my life, especially with my career. And now, when I look at my evaluation, my behaviors and my actions, they make sense. They definitely make sense now. And I understand how important it is to regularly do these exercises because as we grow, as we develop, as we bounce back from multiple setbacks, we're going to evolve, our attitudes will change, and there's always room for improvement in our lives. So today I've talked a lot about career setbacks. I've spoken about our natural reactions to them and how we can adjust our mindset to see career setbacks as a springboard for success. I've shared the 3 stages we go through when encountering a career setback, and I've provided a cheeky toolkit for the next time you experience a challenge or an obstacle in any aspect of your life. So if there's anything you take away today, please remember to embrace your emotional carnage and be kind to yourself. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So get strategic and then understand your motivations, your values, your strengths and your weaknesses, and use this as a way to bounce back and become an even better version of yourself. In the next few weeks, I'm going to publish a written version of this talk on my Medium blog. So let me know how you found this talk. Let me know what you'll take away. And of course, let me know what else you think I could have added into this talk, and I can bear that in mind for the next version I do. I've got my details on the screen, so please feel free to reach out directly on LinkedIn, if you just want to connect. I like meeting new people, so hit that connect button. This is the end of my talk. Thank you so much for listening, and happy to just have a fireside chat. Obviously, you can hear the doorbell working from home. I told you there'd be an interruption, but that is perfect timing. So yeah, any questions? Let's just have a cozy chat, and thank you.
Nice. So yeah, that was perfect. And the materials you mentioned, are you happy to sort of share them afterwards?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think